Hey guys, Mo here, and today we'll be covering message boxes for your project. So far in our sample project, we made force fields that hit the hero, as well as a guard that switches them off and back on. What we'll do this time is go into the guard's code and give him some text to show. First of all, we'll go to the commands. Under the Display and Media tab, you have the Message command. But in addition to this, you also have the Message Input command, the Message Options command, the Free Text, and the Delete Free Text commands that all do relatively similar functions. The message box is what we'll be using right now. The message box is pretty much what it says. It's a message box that shows up on the screen and prints out the text that you provide to it. Let's enter something right now. So this will be the message for him. In addition to this regular message thingy, you can obviously set the position of the text box on the screen, as well as you can change the print speed. That means that the message is printed character by character, but you can speed up or slow down the pace in which the characters are printed out. In addition to this, you also have the numeric and textual variables that you can add into the message box. We don't have anything to show right now, but just know that it's possible to enter the variable that you have. You choose it, click the add button, and it's added onto the message box here, and once the game is played, it'll show the value inside the variable. The last thing you can do is a speech bubble. You can attach the message box as a speech bubble to the any event you want on the screen. So we'll set it to this event. Once we do this, we'll play the game. Another thing you should know about text boxes and fonts are that they are customizable, but you don't need to set them in order to use the message box in the first time. So let's see this one. It'll show us the message. I'm a guard, Hausa. A nice thing about a message box is that you only need to provide one message box size, and the program will resize it for you in accordance to the text length. If you were to write a much longer message, the text box would be stretched out. But because it's short, the message box is shrinked to the size. As you can see as well, the speech bubble links it to the event it's talking. And once it's done, the force field is disabled. If you talk to it again, it'll say the same message and re-enable the force field. Now, what I mentioned earlier about customization to the message box and font, you can find it in the database under the Visual Settings tab, right here in the text box. You have the basic message box and font that are automatically set to your executable folder for Phantasya, in which you'll get the default message box and font. If you want to change them, you can click the change buttons near either of them and just choose a new one. We won't do this right now because it's not really needed. You can also change the size and the color of the text that will be displayed. As for the speech bubble that you saw, the game automatically parses the first pixel on the top left of the message box and makes that color into the speech bubbles color. So if you want the speech bubble to be of a certain color, you want to make the first pixel on the top left that specific color that you want. So that's that for normal message boxes. That's all you need to know. Now we will go through the free text and the delete free text. You don't really need them right now, but they are very much alike to the message box, so we'll cover this as well. The free text, as you can see, is pretty much the same. You can set it to any position and just print out your text. You can use the variables again. A free text is a message box message that doesn't come with a box and doesn't need your confirmation. It's just text that's printed out onto the screen on any location that you want. Let's try this. Free text. We'll do this and give it an index 1. The index you give it isn't very important, but you need to remember it, because if you use a new free text later, you'll be that uses an existing index, the current surface free text surface related to that index will be overridden. We won't enter this here because we don't want it to repeat, but we can go here, which is an event that already is deleted once it's operated on, and add the free text here, give it a different location under the index, and once we save and play the game, you'll see that it shows up on the top left and side of the screen over here, and you'll stay put on the map when you move. You can use this very effectively for GUI parts of your game, and that's very useful for it to show points, coins, anything that you want. Now let's deal with the delete free text. Let's make a new global event to demonstrate. So we have a new global event. We'll set it to automatic, and we'll use a condition upon control activation. Once we press the Alt button, that should be okay. Once that is pressed, we want to go to display in media and use the delete free text command. Once we give it the index that matches the index of the free text on the screen, it will be removed from the screen and won't be displayed anymore. That is very simple and can be very useful in points. Now that we'll press the Alt button, it disappears. So, back to our main point of this episode. Now that we have a message box appear here, we also want to add more advanced message boxes. We want input, we want options. We have this as well, like I showed earlier. So this part of the code, you know what, let's go into another new command that's useful. It's not very intensive on the brain, it's just something that you should know. You have a comment command right here in the code and data tab. A comment is basically just text that you can make a note for yourself of. This part is used to enable force field. Once a command is on the commands, it's not operational in the game, it does nothing. In fact, when the game parses the commands, it completely removes all the commands from the code. So you can put anything that you want here, and you'll be able to just make notes for yourself about stuff you should remember. So this here we got it wrong because this is used to disable the force field, and this part is used to enable it. So now that we have this, we can more easily recall what each part of the code does, and that is pretty useful. So back to the message boxes. Under the disabling code, let's add another message box, but this time we'll have it be a message option. So message options let you write a message and give it some options that you want. The user chooses one of those options, and that the chosen option is stored into a textual variable that you can later use the variables command to a condition to interpret which part of the options the user chose. So for this we'll need a new variable. We already covered how to make variables before, so let's do this right now. We go to the database under the variables tab. We go to text and add a new variable which name input. We'll add it, choose, and give it a default value of none. So back here we'll now, no, not here, back here we'll now make the message options again and give it the user input as the variable to be stored into. We'll make, do you want me to open this door for you, and give you two options, yes or no. As you can see, that's a problem because the options need to be formatted in this order, starting from the top left down and then in this order. So once we have the options here, we want to set another condition, and we go to condition, to basic, and under textual user input we want to only operate if the answer is yes. So we'll take all this code and put it inside the condition again. At the end of this all, we want to, you know what, before everything we want to make sure that the variable isn't set from another time. So we'll take it here and set to user input none again. So every time before we make a choice, we make sure that we don't use a value from last time. So let's save and see what we got. Once we talk to the guard, we'll say the message from before, and then you'll have an option that you can choose. Once we choose yes, the force field is gone. And if we choose no, nothing happens. Go to it again, choose yes, and there we go. So that's that for fully operational options message box. Now for the last kind of message box we have is a user input message box. That is pretty much the same as options, but in this one you let the user write any input that they might want to give you, that you might want them to use. This is good for username input or maybe passwords. Let's use this right now as a password. Let's do this here under the message input in the display and media tab. Again, you can make input for either numerical values or textual values, and this time we'll go with text. So give me a password to lock the door. And just like last time, we'll set the text back to none. Before we begin, to make sure that we don't reuse an older option. Okay, so after the text input is made, we'll make a new condition again under textual, and we'll check if our password matches anything that we want. So we'll use close sesame as a password here, and if the input the user gave is the same as the input that we want, which is a password close sesame, then we'll take all the code from before and put it here. Press save and play, and now we'll see that after we use the options message box to open the gate, we can use it again here. Now you can use the input that we made. See how we asks us for it. We will enter the code that we wanted, and once we press enter, the force field is back. And that should be about it for now. Next time we'll look into more advanced stuff you can do in your game. This should cover all the basic stuff that we went through so far about text boxes. I know that I crammed a lot of information in this one video, and I know that it's kind of long, but considering a lot of the commands were pretty similar to one another, I hope that wasn't too much for you guys, and well, if it was, just leave me a comment. I can make another video that goes more in depth into each of these commands and how it works. So, well, for now guys, that should be enough, so have a nice one.